So I watched that video about the cheating ring or whatever. Extremely boring video. Kind of drug it out. Then I saw that but it got to the point eventually. But then I seen there was like a lot of people starting to make other videos about cheating Star Citizen. And to be honest with you, I was kind of reluctant to say anything about it because of the fact that, you know, it's a hot button topic, which I'm a few days late to the party because I've been sick and then I got busy with work. So I don't know. But I want to add my 2 cents in there because it's kind of close to home because I just come from a game that I've been playing and enjoying that has been decimated by cheaters. And that game is Tarkov. So I'm familiar with where that can go. And I wanted to kind of bring that perspective forward because it seems like when cheating gets brought up within the community, there's different types of people within the community. There's a large, overwhelming group of people, it seems like, that get ostrich syndrome really bad. They don't want to discuss it. They have the opinion cheating's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be cheaters no matter what they do. Nothing's going to completely eliminate cheating, so we shouldn't talk about it because talking about it brings more awareness to it, which makes it worse because then more people are encouraged to cheat because then they think everybody else is cheating. Basically, if you discuss it, it makes it worse, so don't talk about it. It's not bad. It's not real. Don't talk about it. And I think that's a very unproductive bullshit take because you can't. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to look no further than Tarkov. If you look at Tarkov, it has become very clear that that kind of mentality, it just continues to get worse year after year until it gets to the point where it's just crushing the game. And it got to a breaking point finally in Tarkov where now there's tons of awareness about it. People are making videos about it. You had a guy called Goat that had a viral video where he started cheating and he went into the game as a cheater where he could see other cheaters, and there was like handfuls in every raid, 2 or 3 in every single match, and they would wiggle at each other through the walls, and just it kind of exposed just how bad it was. And for people who were getting fed up, everybody was quitting, and what happens is the game becomes unhealthy because people just quit. You end up with people that get the ostrich syndrome, and then you also get the people that realize how bad it is. They just don't want to play a tainted game anymore. They're just like, it's getting too bad and I'm done. And your community begins to shrink. When the recent Tarkov wipe came out, it had as many people viewing and playing Tarkov on Twitch as there was in all of just chatting. That's pretty impressive. It has shrunk down to almost nothing, which after a wipe goes on for a few weeks, Tarkov always does shrink, but it just went from it blew up so massive with this update because people finally got streets. People were saying, oh, the game's in the greatest state it's been, and then it had all these problems with sound, and then the cheater problem just became terrible, and it just shrunk, and the game community is like this small now playing Tarkov, and almost all of those are cheaters. and a few streamers that have to play it in order to pay their bills. That is not what you want to happen to your game, and that happens when people just keep sweeping it under the rug for years. And that's why you don't want to get that mentality within your community where you say, oh, it's going to be no problem, it's always going to be there, don't talk about it, whatever. You don't want to get to that. You don't want to have that take. That's a bad hot take. You want people to talk about it. You want people to expose it, right? And you want that to become a conversation that pushes the developer to do anything and everything they can to mitigate it. It is true that you won't, as a matter of fact, completely eliminate it. This is true. Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location. Where's my vehicle going? Hangar 9. If I talk through that, I won't go to it. Okay, but if if you don't talk about it, you don't put pressure on the developer to do everything they can, it'll become an unmitigated disaster. You have to get it as low as possible, and you want to keep it as low as possible. You want the punishments to be as stiff as possible. You want every step that they can take to make it as difficult as possible, so that you actually have to be somebody that knows what they're doing to actually achieve the cheats, instead of somebody that just goes on there and easily buys it and runs a program, and that's completely undetectable. You want to be able to detect as much of that as you can and make it as hard for your wallet cheaters to function. And recently we saw that Bungie went and took a cheat selling site to court and actually won. They have won in court and they've been ordered to pay Bungie $4.9 or $4.4 million in damages, like $2,000 for every cheat they sold. And that is a major win. And I know there's always going to be sites in other countries that are maybe hard to reach, but if the only place you can get away with it is like, oops, I left my ship. The only place you could get away with it is like China, you're going to greatly reduce that. But if people think they could just get away with it anywhere, you're going to have American sites, you're going to have South Korean sites, and, sites in the UK just selling cheats. So knowing that they'll be taken to court and they're going to have to pay crazy damages, that sets a new standard. I think that they should pursue that further and see just how far they can get away with suing people for damages. I guess the door's just not going to open for me. I'm not going to be able to get to my hangar door. I have to manually do it. Whoa, game just kind of woo. For sure, you definitely you want to make them as scared as possible, that there's going to be as much consequences as possible. If people know that, there's a game that like with Tarkov, that they're not going to get detected, they're not going to get banned, they just get away with it, and it's just, you can do whatever you want and get away with it day in, day out. You can go through RMT and all that. The game eventually begins to crumble and crack, and the community gets mad. The community starts leaving, and then the developer, now all of a sudden BSG, for example, has decided they want to do stuff about it. Okay, well, now they're so far behind the curve that they got their work cut out for them. But see, if you can take and put pressure on with the conversation right now, like for CIG, right? CIG can start early, making sure that they're doing everything, and just having a little anti-cheat, I mean, it helps. But there's a numerous thing. There was a video one peg put out where he was reading where a guy that knew about the industry, right? He gave like a whole list of things that BSG could do to mitigate and make it more difficult to cheat and more detectable to cheat, other than just an anti-cheat, because anti-cheats aren't very good. They're just not.
So these are all zero-impact solutions. Make all network traffic use TLS coupled with certificate pinning and PFS. So I don't know what any of that is. But this is, like, he's basically saying PFS is recommended as it would force an attacker / cheater to continuously monitor the client's memory and therefore have a module on the computer running the game to extract the session key of that particular exchange. It prevents using a second computer to run the cheat while the game is on the first. Okay, it would require an EXE to run, which could become detectable. Okay, all right. So that obviously would be a huge addition. Prevent debugging and memory inspection. Semantic has a paper on it. Prevents cheat authors from reading the game's memory at runtime by attaching a debugger to the process. Okay? I mean, that seems like it's relatively effective and zero impact, right? Collect and train an ML model based on user behavior. So this is something that I've already suggested. So collect from servers movement and interaction data from players, feed all that data to a machine learning model. So a machine learning model like Fairfight is exactly what this does. So Fairfight monitors behavior of players, user statistics, and then finds things that are in like crazily high statistical outliers, right? Like some absurdly high percentage that somebody's getting headshots, like that is beyond the ability of humanity, right? You can monitor all of that player behavior and find the people that are way outside, or like the guys that are listing 200 fucking lead X's on the flea market, right? And you can ban those guys because the machine learning shows you where the cheaters are when the cheat detection software isn't like enough, right? When a manual enforcement action is made by BSG or when an automatic one is made by BattlEye against a player, inform the ML model. When the model's accuracy of detection is high enough, allow the model to take enforcement actions against players. This is purely server-side, and AWS, Azure, and GCP all have products to get you started. Yep. Completely agree. Okay, medium impact. Some users may need to change their configuration to play the game. Old computers without TPM support would have to upgrade, but FTPM has been a thing in CPU since 2016. So running the game behind a hypervisor, there's very little reason why a person would do that today. Do hardware attestations when starting the game. Through a TEE module, now like I don't know what any of this shit means, but create a hardware attestation that verifies that the game is not running through a hypervisor, and that creates a snapshot of the hardware, collect the serial number of the CPU and the motherboard. The hypervisor check is there to prevent obfuscation of the underlying hardware, and hypervisors are pretty much always detectable. So it eliminates your ability to spoof the hardware, basically. Provides two protections. It ensures that the environment the game is running on is not tampered with. Kernel DMA protections are on VSSHV. Okay, kernel protection, so that's like kernel level anti-cheat. DMA, making sure that the game is actually owned. VSSHVCI is enabled on supported platforms. Secure boot is on. Hardware isn't hidden from the kernel. It allows banning of the hardware in the case of a violation, and since the check and attestation for the hardware is done in a TE and not dependent on Windows, it can't be spoofed.
There's steps that they can take that make that much more difficult. Not impossible, but much more difficult, and catches away more of it. And if your developer puts in the work to do that, then from the get-go, then it becomes known as a game that's much harder to cheat in, and cheating's way less tolerable. And at that point, you can begin to get a grip on it and mitigate the upcoming disaster and keep it from ever getting to a point it's apocalyptic. But when you do absolutely nothing about it, there was a video that Upper Echelon did, I want to say like a year ago, and it was about Titanfall 2. And it was about where Titanfall 2's multiplayer was completely killed because the developer never put in as much work as possible to mitigate the problem. It got to the point where it was just completely destroyed. He did a really good video about it. It was pretty wild. You should go check that video out. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description. It's pretty interesting to watch. In the event of Tarkov, for example, this wipe, it was so bad, there was people flying through the sky just farming the bosses. There were people with, there's items that are rare to get, and people selling like 50 or 100 of them, which is impossible, humanly impossible. People would go into the match, they could see where everyone in the match was, so they could avoid them. If they wanted to go, they could see all the loot. They'd go in and scoop up all the valuable loot and extract safely. They just farm this stuff. They were doing RMT. They were selling stuff for real money.
Okay, we can go back out the back and around if you guys.
Oh, he's fly hacking.
Is he?
Yep. He's fly hacking. Dude, why do you hack, bro?
Why do you gotta cheat, dude?
Hey, yeah, that was really good, bro. Thanks for wasting your time.
Dude, he
is hacking. Yeah.
Dude, man, I'm just trying to do quests. I don't know why you gotta fucking cheat, man.
He has God mode on.
Because I'm getting paid to do this right now.
You can't kill
I
him.
mean, I assume that's why you're getting paid to do it, man. I mean, most people get paid to cheat.
This was going on to the point where it just was it's destroying the Tarkov economy, right? Not even accounting for the people that are just popping everybody in the head.
Take your knife out.
Take my knife out? Take my fucking knife out, bro?
Yeah, you level 67 piece of shit. Take your knife out. Nothing open fire.
The people that are just using these cheats to passively cheat secretly and stealthily in the background and disrupt the economy and make real money, as well as, make tons of in-game money, so that they don't have to worry about buying all the best stuff for their kits as they can possibly buy all the time. So, I mean, we've seen video after video after video. I've experienced running into cheaters. They'll call you out on the VoIP and tell you what's in your inventory. I seen one running around just throwing perfect grenades. I was in reserve, and they're just throwing perfect grenades at everybody, and calling out their names and saying, "Screw you, asshole," and boom, 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 like calling people names as they were nading them. That happened. Got me with it too. I was like, what is going on? I kept hearing it. I was like, what is that? And I was listening. I was just kind of ducked down in the hallway listening to it go on. And then, of course, he could see me. So when he circled around, threw a perfect grenade through a window and down a hall, hit me, blew me up as he cursed at me. And so, yeah, it gets way out of control. That's why it's very important. You know, I can't say it enough to the Star Citizen community. Please, don't dismiss it. I know that a couple of these videos were super dramatic. They were made very dramatic. But just because something's made all dramatic and theatrical doesn't mean it's not a serious problem. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't press CIG to do as much as they can, as early as they can. Don't ever just dismiss it as sweep it under the rug as not a problem, because you will find that if we do that now, that it's going to get progressively worse to the point the game is borked. And we don't want to deal with that. Then everybody's mad, everybody's quitting, and CIG's scrambling to try to. They have to be aggressive in they're not a poor developer. I mean, we pour money into this thing. There's no reason why they can't do like Bungie and aggressively go after cheaters in the court for damages. There's no reason why they can't do anything and everything they can to make cheating as difficult as possible. There's no reason why they can't get some type of learning that learns and monitors the player base and sees when people are doing things that are not humanly possible and zero in on it. Whether they've detected an actual cheat or not, they can tell by the behavior that there's cheating going on. They can tell by things that people that are playing legitimately would never be able to attain as quickly, as fast, or as fluently and perfectly. You know, these things are easy to pick up if you have all the data, because you can't hide when you're having a perfect game all the time, right? So they have the statistics, they have the data, they can do this. So we should, as a community, be supportive of everybody that wants to whistleblow on this stuff, and not ridicule them as making the problem worse. Sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. Sometimes you have to make a big stink and things have to get pretty crappy before people wake up and start trying to do something about it. Unfortunately, that's what's happened in Tarkov. We don't want that to happen in Star Citizen. When there's cheating going on, it needs to be exposed. It needs to be focused on. It needs to be talked about. And everything and anything that can be done needs to be done. It needs to be taken with all seriousness, because a lot of us have put money into this and we want as clean a possible as an experience as possible, right? There's damages to the experience we've paid for. There's damages to what CIG has created if you allow that to just go unchecked and become an unmitigated disaster. So you don't want that to happen. You know, for the love of God, don't be dismissive. You know, don't be dismissive. If people want to make some kind of videos and post about it, support that best you can. If people are making post after post about it, let them. Don't complain about, oh, here we go, another cheating video. Oh, here we go, another cheating post. If it's still happening, let people keep squeaking. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Get some oil, as much oil in as possible. Just because if it ever goes unchecked for too long, I promise you. And if you don't believe what I'm saying to you, start looking up Tarkov videos right now. Start looking up how many of them's about cheating right now. Start looking at how small the community has shrunk this wipe in Tarkov. Start looking about how everything out there is Tarkov cheating, Tarkov cheating, Tarkov cheating. Start looking at all the crazy highlights. People just do the insane amount of cheating and how blatantly obvious a lot of it is. Okay? And then you'll get a glimpse of what can happen if you don't do something about it. Okay? So, as a community, please, that's all I implore of you, is don't become that group that dismisses it and says, oh, they'll never solve it. You'll never solve it. Just don't talk about it. You'll make it worse. No, that's not true. Not true. Ignoring it, it will get a lot worse. It might take a lot longer. There might be this long curve, but it's going to get way worse. It's going to become a money racket. There's money in cheating. And if you think that people aren't going to try to make that money, you're fooling yourself. That's what happens. That's how it goes. When they realize they can get away with it in a game, it becomes a market. It becomes something that people are making money off. They're making money off of fucking up your game, fucking up the game you enjoy, fucking up the game that developers have made and spent years making.
Because I'm getting paid to do this right now.
That's bullshit. You know? Sorry for my language, but don't dismiss it. That's my advice to the community. And you can follow up on everything I said. Just go check out. If you're not part of the Tarkov community, you just go check it out right now and see the shit show that dumpster fire is right now because of that attitude. And you don't want Star Citizen to become that problem, because it will. It definitely will. It definitely will. So anyway, you guys have a good day. I hope that makes some sense. And I hope I'm not repeating something that another video made, because I'll be honest with you, I watched the one video and then I saw the other videos popping up and I didn't even watch them. I mean, I've been watching so much stuff on cheating with the problems in Tarkov that I honestly just didn't have the energy to go through all that with Star Citizen. But I wanted to say this because of how shitty the situation is over there at BSG with Tarkov. And I don't want to see Star Citizen get to that point, which it will. It will get to that point if everybody doesn't do something about it. So keep squeaking, squeaky wheels.